The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And there is one party that does want war. It's the Islamic Republic of Iran. This summer, I was in Argentina. It was the 30th anniversary of the bombing of the Amia, the Jewish community center in Argentina, the deadliest attack on Jews between the Holocaust and what happened on October the 7th. And that attack in 1994 killed 85 people and wounded 300. Who was the attack carried out by? An Argentinian court ruled this year that the attack was directed by the Islamic Republic of Iran and carried out by Hezbollah. Hezbollah, an organization that has killed and terrorized people around the world. Not only in Israel, not only the millions of Israelis that are terrorized by Hezbollah rockets fired on their country on a repeated basis, but they've killed people in other countries as well. And why does Iran want this? Because Iran wants division. Iran wants its horrible regime to be able to get away with human rights violations in their own country. So they create chaos abroad. And one of the ways they create chaos is by attacking what they call the Zionist regime, a regime that the supreme leader of Iran believes should be eradicated. So they finance terrorist organizations like Hamas, like Hezbollah, like Islamic Jihad, to rain rockets on Israel, to do things like the massacre of October the 7th, where over 1,200 people were murdered, and hundreds were injured, and hostages were taken, many of whom are still in tunnels in Gaza. That is the situation that Israel faces itself in. I don't think there's anybody in this chamber, in any party, that has a monopoly on virtue. Everybody cares about the civilians that are going to be harmed in any country, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Israel, whether it's the Palestinian Authority, whether it's Gaza, whether it's Iran. Nobody wants harm to happen to civilians. The issue is the moral clarity of saying who is responsible for what is happening. And there's been an attempt this evening by some speakers to blame Israel for all of the events that have happened when Israel was attacked on October the 7th last year, when Israel has for years had missiles fired upon it by Hezbollah in Lebanon because the Lebanese government, who may very well be of good faith, is unable to fulfill its obligations under a UN resolution saying that Hezbollah has to vacate South Lebanon. Israeli civilians would be killed in drastic numbers if it weren't for the Iron Dome. And we keep forgetting that. We keep pointing to the mass casualties in one place and not another. But the reason is because of the Iron Dome. Israel is fighting terrorist organizations on every single front. It is not a country that has just suddenly decided, oh my God, let's start bombing here and let's start bombing there. The idea that you can impute all the blame in a conflict that has started more than any of our lifetimes ago, and it's not even 1948, it started before that, but let's say going back to 1948, to impute all of the blame to one side is absolutely irreconcilable with factual history. And so I decided to come back to speak tonight because I wanted to make sure that on this side of the House there was some people that would say that. Because it's not right to claim that Israel is entirely responsible for what's happening. And in fact, I think it is pretty clear that Iran has a huge amount of responsibility for what is happening. And what I also wanted to say, Madam Speaker, in this debate was that we all hate hate. Hate is a horrible thing against any group. whether it's against Muslims, against Jews, against gay people, against Christians, against people of color, against anybody. But it has to be said that over the last 11 months, the Jewish community in Canada has faced hate in epic proportions that have not been seen in any of our lifetimes. Jews constitute about 1.4% of Canada's population. More than half of hate crimes, in some cases up to 70%, are against Jews. This does not make sense. When we have in our streets people that yell support for terrorist organizations and fly the flag of terrorist organizations and tell Jews to go back to Poland, that is horrifying. The fact that police are not enforcing the law and not saying that you've crossed a line when you're flying a Hezbollah flag and screaming at people to go back to Poland is absurd. And so, Madam Speaker, I want to propose some solutions that would make things a lot easier to say that governments at all levels were combating hate, because right now, as I've said before, no government in the world is combating anti-Semitism enough. And in Canada, neither the federal government or any provincial government or municipal governments have done enough to confront the epidemic of anti-Semitism that is in our midst. Policing is municipal jurisdiction. Enforcement of the criminal code is provincial jurisdiction. It is not right to blame the federal government for all that is happening, as some are trying to do. But it doesn't mean we can't show leadership. It doesn't mean that the federal attorney general and minister of public safety cannot convene the provincial ministers of public safety and attorney generals to have a discussion about hate, to have a discussion about anti-Semitism, to say that we need specific hate crimes prosecutors that are geared toward hate crimes, to ensure that police have proper training, to ensure hate crimes units are set up across the country, to ensure that police know that politicians at every level in this country, federal, provincial, and municipal, will have the back of police when they enforce the law. That is what we need. We need Samadoun and the Houthis to be designated as terrorist organizations, the same as we have designated the IRGC. We need the Parliament of Canada to create a new intimidation offense, what I would call bubble legislation, to say that if you try to block people from entering or leaving a school, a community center, a community building, that then, a place of worship, that then you would be breaking a very specific provision of the criminal code. Again, that doesn't mean it wouldn't be better done by the provinces. The provinces and municipalities could easily create buffer zones around these buildings. It is a shame that they have not done so. Over the last summer, university campuses were my priority. Since last June, I have been talking to universities across the country. And I worked with Deborah Lyons, Universities Canada, U15, and university presidents to set out a group of things that universities needed to do. And we worked together to make sure that universities committed to enforcing their codes of conduct, to ensuring Jews were included in DEI programs, that anti-Semitism is going to be given by groups that are representative of the mainstream Jewish community and support the IRA definition of anti-Semitism. Even though it's provincial jurisdiction, our Justice Committee has gotten involved. We did hearings. We're going to do a report. And there are things that we can do to confront this problem. So, Madam Speaker, I call on all of us to work together to make sure that we have a fair understanding and balance of what's happening in the Middle East, and also that we confront anti-Semitism and hate in Canada. Thank you.